Your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. Zig Ziglar. Some are born with extraordinary potential, yet live like a lamp smothered by the dust of self-doubt. Conversely, there are those who start with nothing, possessing no standout talent, yet eventually ascend to heights others only dare to watch from afar. What creates that gap is not intelligence, appearance, or a head start. It lies in one's attitude towards life, something invisible, yet more powerful than any tangible force. Ability is merely a tool. Attitude is the hand that wields it. A legendary sword in the hands of the fearful remains a useless hunk of metal, but a person with a fierce will can turn a dry branch into a weapon to carve a path through the storm. Life is cruel in a very fair way. It does not reward potential. It only bows to those who dare to keep moving. An attitude is what decides whether you stand up or stay down after life knocks you flat. Some encounter failure and immediately see themselves as victims of fate. They are like a boat drilling a hole in its own bottom, then blaming the ocean for being too deep. But there are also those who face adversity with a calm gaze. They understand that storms do not come to drown us, but to teach us how to become lighthouses. A positive attitude is not a fake smile in the face of suffering, but the ability to keep one's soul from being swallowed by the darkness. Attitude also reveals the depth of a person's soul. The person who always complains will see thorns wherever they look. The person who practices gratitude will realize that even a wound is a form of growth. When you enter life with the mindset of a warrior, every hardship becomes a lesson. But if you walk with the mindset of one who has already surrendered, even a light breeze is enough to make you stumble. Strangely, the world is often conquered not by the most brilliant minds, but by the most persistent hearts. People may admire your talent for a moment, but it is your attitude that decides if they will trust you in the long run. A strong attitude radiates energy like the sun piercing through thick clouds, silent yet powerful enough to thaw the winter in another's heart. Don't be too obsessed with how good you are. Ask yourself, when tested by life, do you choose to shrink or to grow? For ultimately, the height of a human being is not measured by the wings they possess, but by the courage to spread them in a stormy sky. A person who never made a mistake, never tried anything new, Albert Einstein. Some people spend their entire lives in a cage called safety. They walk so carefully that they dare not let a single drop of water fall from the cup of their life. No mistakes, no stumbles, no failures, but also no growth, no breakthroughs, and no true living. A mistake is not a sign of weakness. It is evidence of courage. People often fear making mistakes because they are obsessed with being perfect. They want to walk without being allowed to fall, to reach success without accepting the scratches earned along the journey. But life has never operated in such a gentle manner. A child must fall dozens of times before learning to walk. A calm sea does not make a skilled sailor. And the human soul is the same. It only matures through the collisions with reality. Mistakes are like fire. They can burn away complacency, but they also forge character. The weak see failure as a period. The strong understand it is merely a comma in the journey of growth. The most terrifying thing is not making a mistake, but living a life so cautious that your heart never trembled from the risk of trying. A door that never opens will never be rattled by the wind, but it will also never know how vast the world outside is. There are those who fail in business, and from those ashes, they learn the value of perseverance. There are those who loved wrongly, and through that pain, they learned how to cherish a sincere heart. Sometimes the deepest emotional wounds are the places where the light of awakening enters. Mistakes do not destroy a person, fear does. For when fear controls the mind, people turn themselves into pale shadows of who they could be. Strangely, society admires success but forgets that behind every achievement lies a graveyard of failures. No one learns to fly without ever falling. No one understands the value of light if they haven't walked through the dark. Those who changed the world were never those who stood still to stay clean of mistakes, but those who dared to step into the unknown, even with wounded feet. If you are making mistakes today, do not be quick to see yourself as a failure. Perhaps life is only proving that you are brave enough to live more than the majority. A stone that sits still will never crack, but it will also never become a monument. Only those who accept the collisions of life have the chance to reach the most radiant version of themselves. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, and go do it. Howard Thurman. There are people who wake up every morning like a wound-up clock, moving steadily, precisely, yet feeling strangely empty inside. They live according to society's expectations, chasing preset standards, and gradually lose the true voice of their own soul. People are often obsessed with being useful. They ask what society needs, what family expects, and who others want them to be. But ironically, by living too long to please the world, they become a faded version of themselves. A tree cannot grow strong if it tries to force itself to bloom like another species. A river cannot reach the ocean if it constantly changes direction at every call. And humans are the same. When they lose what makes their heart skip a beat, they merely exist. They do not truly live. Coming alive is a strange state that neither money nor fame can buy. It is when your eyes light up while talking about what you love. It is when time passes and you forget your exhaustion. It is the feeling of your soul burning like a fire in the middle of a winter night, even if no one else in the world understands why. Some find that vitality in art, some in healing others simply in writing, singing, or exploring new horizons. It doesn't need to be grand in the eyes of others, it only needs to make sure your heart is no longer asleep. The greatest tragedy in life is not failure, but living a life that never truly belonged to you. Many spend their youth climbing the ladder of success only to reach the top and realize the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. They have everything, yet inside they are as parched as land that hasn't seen rain in years. For the human soul doesn't die in an instant. It withers every time we betray our deepest desires. The world doesn't need more people who just exist within a mold. The world needs people who live by their own fire. A person who is truly alive can inspire more than 1,000 sermons. Their energy is like the sun. They don't need to try and convince anyone, yet they still have the power to make other souls turn toward the light. Don't let life turn you into an obedient shadow in the crowd. Listen to the deepest part of your soul. What makes your heart beat faster? What makes you feel like you truly exist? Have the courage to walk toward it. Because in the end, a life is not valued by how many people you pleased, but by how truthfully you lived according to your own soul. Wherever you are, be all there. Modern humans live like shadows being dragged along by time. The body is here, but the mind is stuck somewhere else, regretting the past, fearing the future, or drowning in the endless noise of life. There are those who sit beside loved ones, yet their eyes are glued to their phones. There are those who walk through a beautiful sunset, yet their minds are spinning with tomorrow's pressures. They live as strangers in their own lives. The body exists in reality, but the soul wanders elsewhere. And as the years pass, they don't lack time, they just haven't truly lived within that time. Being fully present is the ability to put your whole heart into the current moment. When you love, love with total sincerity instead of loving while fearing hurt. When you work, focus so deeply that every second contains a soul. When you look at the sky, really see the blue instead of just glancing past it out of habit. For life is not made of long or short years, but of the moments humans truly wake up to feel their own existence. Old mistakes pull us back, then push us into worries that haven't happened yet. And the sad thing is that while running between past and future, humans lose the present, the only place where life actually exists. No one can embrace a memory to live, nor can anyone step into tomorrow before it arrives. Yet so many people sacrifice today for things that never belong to them. Those who know how to be fully present carry a very different kind of energy. They don't live in a rush, yet every moment they experience has depth. Like a still lake reflecting the entire sky, their souls are peaceful enough to feel what others miss. The wind, a gaze, tranquility, and the fragile beauty of life. They understand that happiness isn't about running somewhere else, but the ability to truly live right where they stand. If you are with someone important today, be present with all your heart. If you are pursuing a dream, walk with your whole mind. Don't let life become a series of days spent existing in unconsciousness. Because in the end, What makes a moment valuable is not how long it lasts, but how deeply you lived within it. I can accept failure. Everyone fails at something, but I can't accept not trying. Failure is never what people regret most. What haunts them for years are the opportunities they didn't take, the doors that were right in front of them but they lacked the courage to walk through. Failure is just a temporary wound to one's pride. What's more terrifying is surrendering before the battle even begins. There are those who haven't even stepped on stage yet have already concluded they will be mocked. There are those who have never pursued a dream yet assumed they weren't capable. They didn't lose to life, they lost to the fear within their own minds. And the greatest tragedy is that a human can live a whole life without ever knowing who they could have become. A person who dares to try always carries a different kind of energy. They understand that human value doesn't lie in never falling, but in the number of times they choose to stand up after every fall. A warrior who emerges from battle covered in wounds is still more respectable than one sitting in a safe fortress who never fought, because at least that warrior lived with all their courage. Life is inherently unfair to those who only wait for perfection before they start. No one is fully confident before they act. No one is certain of success before they try. But it is the process of trying that creates the strength a person needs. Coal only becomes a diamond under immense pressure. The eagle only learns to fly by flinging itself off the cliff. And humans only mature when they dare to step into the things that make them tremble. Strangely, society usually only sees the final halo, forgetting the countless silent failures behind it. Every successful person has had moments of self-doubt, been rejected, and wanted to quit. But the difference is, they kept going. They accept the pain of failure over the emptiness of never having tried. Some pains will fade with time, but regret does not. It is like a shadow that quietly follows a person until the end of their days, reminding them of the stronger version of themselves they weren't brave enough to become. If you must choose to fail while fighting, rather than living peacefully in regret. For in the end, what makes a person proud is not how many times they won, but how much they dared to live fully for what their heart desired. Some people want it to happen, some wish it would happen, others make it happen. Michael Jordan. Life always divides people into three distinct types. The first type stands at a distance, watching life like a helpless spectator, only hoping luck will visit them. The second type lives through beautiful wishes, imagining success as if it will find them just because they desire it enough. And the final type, the rarest, are those who dare to step into the darkness and build the bridge across the abyss with their own hands. Many people want success, but only as a fleeting thought. They like the feeling of imagining glory, but fear the price they must pay to touch it. They want a healthy body, but don't want to wake up early to train. They want wealth, but won't accept years of solitude and pressure. They want to be admired, but avoid failure. Their desires are like smoke appearing and then vanishing, beautiful but lacking the power to change anything. Those who only wish often live in the sweet trap of procrastination. They say someday as if time is infinite. But life doesn't reward prayers that lack action. A seed cannot grow into a forest based solely on a farmer's longing. It must be buried in the dark earth, endure rain, sun, and even days of seeming rot before it can rise as a tree. Humans are the same. Every dream requires payment in sweat, persistence, and moments of pain. Those who turn what they want into reality carry a very different energy. They don't sit around waiting for motivation to appear before they act. They act even when afraid, even when no one believes in them yet. In psychology, this is the state of those who understand that emotions are just temporary weather, but discipline is the rudder of life. They know this world isn't changed by those who speak best, but by those who dare to follow through to the end. The incredible thing is that the distance between a dream and reality is sometimes just one courageous decision, yet the majority of people drown in hesitation. They stand before the door of life for so long that their hand never even touches the handle. They fear failure, fear judgment, fear pain, but it is that very fear that quietly turns them into spectators in someone else's movie. The world has never lacked talented people. What is rare are those with enough character to turn talent into persistent action. A small spark can light up the night if it dares to burn fully. And humans are the same. No one is born a legend. They are simply those who refuse to let fear stop them from moving forward. Don't just watch what you desire from afar, like looking at a beautiful star in the sky. Don't let life pass by in if-onlys. If your heart truly wants something, step forward and make it happen with your own two hands. For in the end, the world is not changed by those who only wish, but by those who dare to act until the impossible becomes reality. Champions keep playing until they get it right. Billie Jean King. What makes someone a champion has never been the moment of victory, but how they face their failures. In a world full of those who quit halfway, a true winner is one who can take one more step when everything inside them wants to stop. Ordinary people often see failure as a signal to turn back. Just one rejection, one fall, and they immediately doubt their own self-worth. They are like small fires extinguished by the first gust of wind. But champions are different. They understand that mistakes aren't the end, but an indispensable part of the perfection process. Every failure to them is like a hammer blow on hot steel, painful, intense, but necessary to create a sharper blade. There is a massive difference between having talent and having grit. Talent helps you start faster, but persistence decides how far you go. Many possess superior abilities yet crumble under pressure. Meanwhile, true champions are often terrifyingly stubborn. They may cry in silence, they may be exhausted to the point of collapse, but they return to the arena one more time. Because in their minds, a belief burns fiercely. As long as it isn't right yet, they aren't allowed to stop. Life operates in a very fair way. It doesn't grant grand rewards for temporary emotions. It saves them for those resilient enough to endure the long process of repetition. A pianist plays a perfect piece not because of genius in one night, but because of 1,000 times their hands trembled on the keys. An athlete stands on the podium of glory not just for the shining moment, but for the countless practices when no one was watching. Behind all excellence is a persistence that is silently ruthless. The most formidable thing about a champion isn't their strength, but their attitude toward failure. Others are deterred by failure. They use it as fuel. They don't let emotions dictate their actions. They understand that motivation comes and goes, but discipline is what keeps a person standing during the stormiest days. And it is that ability to keep fighting through the pain that turns them into extraordinary beings. Many quit too early, right before the moment they could have touched what they were searching for. They are like the well digger who stops just a few swings away from the water vein. But champions do not. They keep digging, keep walking, keep correcting until everything is exactly as they envisioned. Not because they don't get tired, but because the desire within them is greater than that fatigue. If you are failing today, do not be quick to see it as the end. Perhaps life is only testing how much you want what you're pursuing. For ultimately, the people who reach the top aren't those who never failed, but those who refuse to let themselves stop until they got it right. Don't let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do. John Wooden. Humans have a strange habit. They spend too much time looking at closed doors, to the point of forgetting there are countless open paths around them. The greatest paradox of human life is not a lack of ability, but tying oneself down with a sense of helplessness. So many live in obsession over what they do not have. They look at others' talents and see themselves as small. They regret not being smart enough, rich enough, lucky enough, or perfect enough. And then, while bowed before those deficiencies, they forget that they still possess the abilities needed to change their lives. A person who cannot fly like a bird can still create legs to cross mountains. A person who cannot see the light can still feel the world with a heart deeper than 1,000 normal eyes. A strong person is not one who owns everything, but one who knows how to make the best use of what they have. When people pour all their energy into what they lack, they lose the power to develop what they possess. Like someone standing in a fertile field but doing nothing but complaining because there isn't a forest nearby. Ultimately, the land stays fallow and life remains stagnant. There are those who spend their entire lives complaining about circumstances. They turn hardships into excuses for inaction. But there are also those who step out of adversity with a spirit that leaves others in awe. They understand that life never promised to be fair. Some are born with advantages. Others must start in the dark. But what decides the future is not what we lack, but how we use what we have. A weaker arm can still support another through kindness. An imperfect voice can still inspire if it comes from a sincere heart. A person without ideal conditions can still create something extraordinary through will. Just as water doesn't need the hardness of stone, but still has the persistence to pierce stone over time, humans don't need to be perfect to create value. The sad thing is that many people die while their talents have yet to even wake up. Not because they lacked potential, but because they let fear and insecurity overshadow their true capabilities. They stand before life with the gaze of a failure before they even begin. Meanwhile, the most successful people aren't usually the best at everything, but those who know how to focus all their energy on what they can do. Don't let limitations become a prison for your mind. You might not be able to do everything, but there is certainly something only you can do in your own way. Life doesn't demand that you become a perfect version. It only waits to see if you have the courage to nurture the light you have, instead of bowing forever to the darkness you cannot change. Family is not an important thing. It's everything. Michael J. Fox. Amidst a volatile life, humans can pursue many things: money, fame, power, or grand dreams. But the day will come when they realize that some things feel emptier the more they are chased, while there is a place that no matter how far one goes, always pulls the heart back. Family is like the roots of a tree. One may admire the green foliage or the vibrant flowers, but what silently keeps the tree standing through the storm lies deep beneath the earth. Humans are the same. No matter how mature they grow or how strong they become, deep in their souls they always need a place to return to without having to wear a mask. A place where failure doesn't make them despised, weakness doesn't get them abandoned, and tears aren't considered shameful. The strange thing is that people often only realize the value of family when they start to lose it. When young, many see shared meals as ordinary, questions as annoying, and care as a given. They are busy chasing the vast world outside, while forgetting there are those silently aging while waiting for them to return. Only when time takes the black from their parents' hair and the laughter from the old house do they understand that some things, once gone, can never be found again. Family isn't always perfect. There are houses full of silence and wounds that come from the very people we love most. But even in that imperfection, family remains the first place that teaches us to love, to hurt, and to forgive. It is like a fire on a winter night, sometimes flickering, sometimes weak, but enough to keep a soul from freezing in this vast and lonely world. What makes a person strong is not just personal will, but the feeling of belonging to someone. A child raised in love usually has a more solid internal foundation against life's storms. An adult who knows family is behind them will be more courageous when entering great battles. For deep down, humans fear hardship less than the fear of facing everything alone. Outside, society may judge you by your money and achievements. But when you are exhausted, it is family that sees the true human behind the glory or the failure. The world may turn its back when you are empty-handed, but the light in that house can still wait for your return. And sometimes, simply having a place to return to gives a person enough strength to keep living. Don't wait for time to create distance before you learn to love your family. Don't let the busyness of the world alienate your heart from those who held you in their arms since day one. Because in the end, after all of life's races, what remains isn't how much you owned, but how many people truly stood by you when everything collapsed. And the only place that usually does that is family. Family is a life jacket in the stormy sea of life. In this vast and fierce sea of life, humans are like small boats constantly drifting amidst the waves. There are days when the sea is calm, with sunlight gilding every dream. But there are also days when storms arrive unexpectedly, drowning the heart in fatigue, disappointment, and loneliness. And during those moments when one feels on the verge of sinking, family is the life buoy that silently keeps a person afloat above the depths of despair. The world out there usually loves on condition. When successful, you may be cheered like the sun, but at the first failure, the world can turn cold with terrifying speed. Friends may leave, social connections can vanish like smoke. Only family remains the only place that still reaches out to catch a person, even when they have nothing left but wounds and exhaustion. Family bonds are like a lamp still burning in a great storm. It doesn't stop the wind from blowing, but it's enough for a lost traveler to know they still have a place to return. The strange thing is that people often only realize the value of family when they are already too weary of the world. When young, many take home for granted and keep running out to find something greater. They pursue fame, money, and flashy relationships, only to return in silence and realize the place that heals their heart was never far away. It is a meal with familiar voices. It is a mother's worried gaze when she sees her child is tired. It is a father's quiet pat on the back that needs no words. Those seemingly small things have the power to mend the deepest cracks in the soul. Family isn't always perfect. There are disagreements, hurts, and moments when it seems no one understands anyone. But no matter what, it is the only thread that time finds difficult to cut completely. Because deep within human flesh and blood, there always exists an instinct to belong. A person can be strong before the entire world, yet still grow weak at the call of their family. For that place contains the first memory, the first love, and the first sense of security they ever knew. What makes humans able to withstand adversity is not just will, but the feeling of not being alone. Family is the strongest spiritual anchor. Like an anchor keeping a ship from being swept away in a storm, family keeps a person from losing themselves amidst the chaos of life. Just knowing someone is waiting behind them gives a person one more reason to stand up after falling. Life may take many things from you: youth, opportunities, and lingering dreams. But if you still have a family to love and to be loved by, you are not truly empty-handed. Because ultimately, after every battle of life, what makes us feel redeemed is not the balance in our bank account or the admiring gaze of the public, but the fact that there is still a home to return to and a pair of arms ready to hold us during our stormiest days.